Well, hey, podcast listeners. In episode 41 of the Pixar Post Podcast, we'll dive right into our wrap-up discussion of the D23 Expo, which took place from August 14th through the 16th in Anaheim, California. We'll also chat with Lava director Jim Murphy in our one-on-one interview and dive into the updated Disney Infinity 3.0 very quick news about the Good Dinosaur and so much more.
All about animation. And who better to be your guide this afternoon than John Lasseter?
Hello, D23! You come to the D23 Expo to hear stuff nobody else has ever heard before. I'd like to bring...
We got to present more info about the Good Dinosaur that's coming out in November.
Showed a couple of our favorite scenes, really, that we love. And
it's so emotional.
it's beautiful.
The world premiere of Riley's first date!
Just wait until she's old enough to bring home the first boy.
Bye!
We showed clips from Finding Dory.
The long-awaited sequel to Finding Nemo.
It's just always such a thrill to just have an audience see something for the first time.
Let's make up stories. Remember that time?
Yes.
When you...
Oh my God.
Oh my God, it was so
funny.
funny. Couldn't be prouder of the concept, the writing, the animation. If you were a Nemo fan or not, you're going to love this film.
We're proud to announce Coco.
It's a celebration that revolves around the importance of family.
Telling a really fun yet powerfully emotional story in this world.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of the original Toy Story. There's no point in talking about Toy Story in the music without mentioning the Oscar-winning singer-songwriter and composer, Randy Newman.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
Thank you, D23! We'll see you in 2 years!
All right, so there's a good little teaser as far as everything that happened with the D23 panel from the Pixar standpoint. And that's pretty darn exciting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So obviously I want to kick off by saying that as we talk through Riley's first date, The Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory, Coco, the list goes on and on. If you're avoiding any spoilers on any of these projects, I think it goes without saying that we're going to be talking about some of what they're talking about, which
From the Expo.
Which could be considered spoilery. So if you're avoiding it, you're going to want to jump right ahead to when we talk with Jim Murphy about Lava in our one-on-one interview, and we'll have the time code that starts in our show notes. So if you ever need to hit our show notes, just go to pixarpost.com, click on the podcast button, and this is episode 41, and you'll find all the descriptions and time breakdowns in there. So let's get right into it here. So the panel kicked off, as you heard, with an energetic John Lasseter bursting onto the stage, pumping the crowd up about what they're going to hear and surrounding the upcoming Disney and Pixar animated films. He pointed out his custom self-designed Rhine Spooner Hawaiian shirt, which if you've never seen those, you definitely need to. They're super cool. And then, of course, he teased that they were on sale as an exclusive of the Expo, and then brought out a T-shirt cannon and started shooting some out into the crowd right away to get people excited. The crowd was about 7,800 people, so that was a
lot of people.
A lot of people that were all in there, and boy, oh boy, you could just... anything that they were talking about new, you could just feel the energy just erupting off of people. And I think one of the bigger parts that we heard was when Ellen came on stage for Finding Dory. Like everybody,
Who doesn't love Ellen?
I'm sure there's probably somebody that doesn't, but
I love Ellen.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that was kind of cool too, and we heard mixed reviews about this part, but like the panel lasted just about 3 hours.
Yes.
And it was originally scheduled for 2. And obviously the diehard fans were like, yes, bring it on, more. It's fine if it goes over. Other people were like, wait a minute, this was supposed to be 2 hours.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a pretty big shock to go over a full hour when it's 2. But obviously you and I would have been in
we would
heaven.
have been geeking out. Well, it's exciting too because that's how much information they were showcasing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Artwork and clips and special guests.
Yeah.
Sign me up for the extra hour each panel.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and so from a Pixar standpoint, it kicked off with Jonas Rivera, the producer of Inside Out, Pete Docter, the director of Inside Out, and Josh Cooley, the story supervisor and screenwriter for Inside Out, coming out for Riley's first date to kind of kick that off. So they did a quick little chat about the success of Inside Out, and Josh Cooley, who is the writer-director of the short Riley's First Date, talked about how the idea came as an offshoot idea that never really found a home for Inside Out, but instead found its way to be the exclusive short that's going to come with the Blu-ray and DVD and digital release of Inside Out, which is coming out on...
Oh, crap.
November 3rd.
Yes.
So the idea came during a brain...
I said that, too.
Well,
for some reason, I thought October, the last second.
You know it's fun to put you on the spot.
I know. Well, when you put me on the spot, it's like things I know. You could ask me my name, and I'm like,
What's your name?
Julie. But you know what I mean? It's just like, oh my gosh, my heart starts beating.
Yeah, well, you got to get good under pressure.
I know I do.
This is...
I'm really good under pressure most times.
Except for when I ask you questions.
I guess.
So Josh mentioned that the idea came during a brainstorm session when they were talking about ideas for the film, and all of the director, producer, like everybody involved with the project had daughters, and some of them were older daughters, others were younger daughters, and Josh had a younger daughter. And I think it was Ronnie del Carmen who has an older daughter, who said, "You think it's bad now, you just wait until she brings home like her first date." And that's when the idea kind of popped in his head about Riley's first date and what would be going through his head. And what was exciting is the crowd was able to see it, so it was screened for the crowd. It was approximately about 5 minutes is what we heard, and it was a ton of fast-paced action, and it was a lot of quick humor zipping in between the parents' minds as they try to process, is this a date, and then into Riley's mind and into the boy's mind that came over. So it's really exciting. And obviously the boy is the boy from the very end of Inside Out, who kind of bumps into Riley at the skating rink. Yeah. And they go inside his mind, and it's like, boy, or girl. Yeah, boy. Girl. Yeah, and the best is his fear. The image of his fear character, yes, in like the fetal position, like rocking. That's awesome. So we're very excited to see what's going to come of that when it's released on November 3rd. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned for that. And I shouldn't just say that, it's also October. Is it October 13th?
Is the digital
release?
Yes. Okay. See, I knew it. I knew I was thinking October for a reason.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was.
Well, there you go. So it's also going to be out on digital release first, and you can check it out then. And then next on stage was Peter Sohn and Denise Ream from The Good Dinosaur.
So excited about this film.
Okay, what are you excited about?
Everything.
Okay, why are you excited about everything?
I'm excited for the story. Mm-hmm. I think I am going to completely fall in love with Spot and Arlo.
Okay, so it's a character-driven thing.
Character-driven for me. Well, the scenery is breathtaking.
Okay.
And at first, the scenery being so realistic compared to the dinosaurs and the characters that are very cartoony, I was like, am I going to like that? Yes, I like it. I love it. Okay,
yeah, that was something that was very talked about. We talked about that on our Google Hangout, that was something that a lot of people discussed.
Yes. And they still discuss it in the forum, and we've heard discussion from D23, from some of our friends who have gone. I like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. And the characters for me, just how you read their eyes, mm-hmm. the emotions in their eyes, the first official trailer got me. Sold me 100%.
Yeah. Well, they showed 2 additional clips which expanded on the trailers, which we have previously seen, mm-hmm. and that have been released. And Peter Sohn gushed that he's so excited that he can finally start showing more clips beyond just the trailers, which have been worked on for so long. And those clips, like I said, expanded. So we learned a little bit more about, like, for instance, we talked about in the Google Hangout that kooky dinosaur that's kind of triceratopsy, but it's not, that walks out of the woods, that
with
has
all the animals
on its head. And you had said
that you reminded me like of Rafiki from The Lion King.
Right, and so we had heard that that's like totally spot on. Dan, the Pixar fan who was there, mentioned that, and he said, yep, you're totally right on that. That's his kind of character. And we learned like the animals help him in a certain way. And then there was also additional chat in the additional clip. It showed a little bit more detail about Arlo and Spot when we thought they may have, or Jeff from This Day in Pixar, and I was like, I freaked out because I was like all excited about it when he mentioned that Arlo had some sticks in the sand when they were by the water side
Yeah.
and the moon was out, and we thought that they may have been, or he thought that they may have been like grave sites.
See, I always thought that they were communicating. Like each of them were trying to show their past or
Right.
their story.
Yeah, so Arlo had set the sticks up. Now we learn that he set the sticks up to kind of to show like his family and all these kind of things and visually represent what he couldn't communicate in words to Spot.
Right.
So you were right, of course, just like with Rafiki. So you were definitely tuned into this movie.
I am. I think it's because it's about dinosaurs, and I really, really like dinosaurs.
That is true. That is true. How many times did you see Jurassic Park in the theater?
7 times.
Yeah, exactly. So, while other people were seeing other movies many times.
Enjoying their summer, I was
in the theater watching Jurassic Park. Yeah, and we have bought some Jurassic World toys as well. We've broke out of our Pixar mold and started buying some Jurassic World because we love Jurassic World as well.
Yes.
We already saw that multiple times too. But back to this. So Peter Sohn had also mentioned that, this is a quote from him, he said, Arlo and Spot journey through a world that has been greatly inspired by the American Northwest. It's epic in scope, soul-enriching, and simultaneously beautiful and treacherous. In this world, we meet up with a very special family of T-Rexes who help Arlo find a way through his personal fears and ultimately teach Arlo what he's made of. So one of the things that I think everybody was almost thrown for a loop on, which we didn't know from the first trailer, is when we saw those T-Rexes, we didn't know that they were going to be, in a way, helping him learn about himself.
Right.
They seemed like, because they show that clip of the, with the big roar coming and everything, you just assume that they're going to be an enemy against him.
Right.
Kind of like when you see the pterodactyls coming down.
Right, but remember we had talked about this before, and I can't remember if it was on a podcast or a Google Hangout. I had said that I think that those T-Rexes, and I think they're the younger two, were kind of goofy.
Right. Yeah, but we didn't know if they were going to be totally, because even though we compared them to the dogs in Up, with Alpha and Beta and all that, we thought that they might have been goofy, but yet still against him.
Oh yeah, you're right. We did. I think we were. Yeah.
Yeah, that they were part of this group that was outside, but who knows?
Yeah.
But either way.
Interesting. We've talked a lot about this movie.
Yes, we have. Absolutely, we have. All right, so the next film that was up was Finding Dory, and in it, we caught our first Easter egg.
Yes, you found this one.
So in the screenshot that was released showing a new character, Hank, an octopus,
voiced by Ed O'Neill.
Right, absolutely. In the image, in the behind the tank that Dory's in, very blurry, you can see an image of Darla holding the bag that has a fish in it. Do you know the fish's name?
I can't remember, and I just watched Finding Nemo too, 2 days ago.
I watched it too. And the only reason I know this, I did not know it up front. I will, without putting you on the spot, since I put you on the spot, I will admit that I did not know it either.
It starts with an S,
no.
Right? No. Oh man, then I don't know.
It's Chuckles.
Chuckles!
Okay, so...
Like the clown?
Okay, so here we go. So in the forum, after we posted this picture showing Darla and everything, Gray Catbird, Antoine...
The clown from Toy Story 3 is what we're talking about.
Well, no, I posted the picture of Darla holding the Gray Catbird, user in the forum, mentioned that he said, yeah, and Chuckles is there too. And I was like, wait a minute. I didn't see Chuckles, because immediately my brain goes to the Toy Story 3 clown. Yeah, absolutely. And then, so another Bonnie comes in, another forum user, and says, no, I actually had to look it up myself. It's actually the fish in the bag. That's so I totally.
Well, the Tank Gang talks about the fish.
You're right.
Because they say it.
Poor Chuckles.
Yeah, I think Bloat's the one that says it.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, so anyways, I thought that was. Because
I can hear his voice.
That was interesting because the first thing both of our minds went to, but it's fair, because Chuckles was such a larger part of Toy Story 3 in learning about the background of Lotso, that my mind immediately when I hear Chuckles goes to that Chuckles.
Right.
So
interesting. Gosh, I love our forum.
I know, it's awesome, all the different things that come up. So in the Finding Dory panel, Andrew Stanton, the director and writer, Angus MacLean, co-director, Lindsay Collins, a producer, came to the stage and brought out a ton of the vocal, not a ton, but quite a few of the vocal cast. And obviously, we already mentioned Ellen came out. Ellen DeGeneres.
A surprise guest
who, of course, voices Dory. And they announced a few more details and other characters along the way, as well as some artwork of them. So we already kind of mentioned the newly announced Hank, the cranky octopus born into captivity, voiced by Ed O'Neill, as you mentioned. We also have Bailey, the beluga whale, which we did know about before, but I don't think we knew the little extra detail that he believes he has a head injury, because a beluga whale has that puffed out forehead. Yeah, so he thinks he has a head injury, which is why he's in the Fish Institute, if you will, the aquarium.
Which is so perfect for Ty Burrell to voice.
Yeah, the goofy.
Yes.
Kinda...
I mean, being a fan of Modern Family, I am so excited for these two voices.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'll be able to separate them from their characters that I watch every week on TV.
Yeah.
To this.
Yep. And it's interesting because I was just thinking about, as you were saying it, with Modern Family, you obviously have Ellen, who's on TV, and then the other character that was announced was Destiny, voiced by Caitlin Olsen, who is in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So it's like a very TV heavy cast.
Yes.
And Destiny is a whale shark who does not want to associate, because she's a whale shark. She doesn't want to associate with sharks because sharks are scary.
She wants to be a whale.
So she only associates with the whale side of her. So she has like this dual kind of like battling personality kind of thing inside of her. It's really seems like a hilarious little fun thing.
Yes.
There's obviously going to be, just like I think we had talked about this, not on anything previously, that with Finding Nemo, there's so many amazing characters. Like the cast of characters that you meet along that journey are awesome. Everything from obviously the seagulls to the pelicans. I mean, there's even that little extra part where they have, what did he eat too much today?
Crabs.
And all the crabs. I mean, just everything. Just I can't wait to meet the cast characters again and see if they're, how it's going to fit into the world of Finding Dory.
I can't wait to see the fish that John Ratzenberger voices.
Yeah. Well, you never know. He could be a human.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah.
But it would be nice if he maybe did his
the fish
role. Yeah. They can't do the same joke again, though.
I know, but maybe they could.
Yeah, they could always find a way to fit it in. Who are we to know?
I do want to kind of expand on the shark thing, because when we went to that insider access for Inside Out.
Yes, okay, talk about this. I know what you're going to say.
Okay, so we bought a ticket to the insider access for Inside Out, and it showed 20 minutes of behind the scenes footage of how they made Inside Out. Well, during the little video presentation, Jonas and Pete stormed in. Well, didn't storm in, but kind of went into a meeting with Lindsay Collins, Andrew Stanton,
Axel Geddes. They were doing editing for Finding Dory.
Yes. So the camera goes into the room and they pan around, and almost behind where they came into the door is this fairly large piece of artwork with to scale of looked like a whale shark, looked like a couple other sea life creatures.
Right, there was some definite character artwork on the walls behind them.
Yes. And
you pointed it out immediately. You nudged me and you're like, look, concept art.
It was on the screen for like 2 seconds.
It was a little longer actually, because we know that, because what you're going to say next. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
So, I mean, it wasn't on there that long, but
right.
They all looked new characters.
Yep.
And I was so excited. Because that was the first real look.
Right.
That we had ever seen.
So one of the things we wanted to do when we got home, and I'll let you finish it up, was they give you a lanyard that has a code on it.
Yes.
You come home and you punch in the code and you can watch that same video again. But what did we discover?
They blurred everything out.
Yeah.
So obviously they weren't supposed to show that, and since the code had the video that people could do screenshots at home, they fixed it and they blurred
because we wanted to kind of like pause it and look at the characters a little more and see what we could see.
They blurred every image out in that room. But it was really exciting to see when we were sitting there live in the insider access. But I was, when you were talking about Destiny the Whale Shark, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember seeing what appeared to be Destiny on that.
Agree. Well, I have one more thing that I want to talk about from this, which was kind of a similar thing where they showed it and then took it away.
Okay.
So when this was first announced and the official Disney Animation and Pixar were live tweeting the event, the first tweet that came across...
Oh, I know what you're going to say now.
...mentioned that it was Hank the septopus. So instead of being an octopus. So that would be a 7-armed octopus. Or creature. So it makes me wonder, though...
Then they changed it.
And then they deleted it and redid it. So that wouldn't seem like an autocorrect. Is Hank missing an arm?
And they didn't want to say it?
And they don't want to miss it, and they don't want to talk about it, because is it potentially something... He was born in captivity, he's kind of cranky. Huh?
Yeah.
Is there something there?
Maybe. Oh, maybe.
Yeah. So we were watching all these live tweets as it was going, so that's something we're going to have to see if it comes up again. So the 2 clips that they showed at this was one of Dory kind of sleep talking and sleep swimming, which is going to be awesome, because anybody listening that doesn't know me, I do sleep talk and sleepwalk, actually.
Yes, he does.
And then there's a second clip that shows Hank talking with Dory. And in addition to behind the tank seeing the picture of Darla holding the bag with Chuckles in it, the Easter egg that we kind of diverged on there.
Yes.
There's also, when I zoomed in on it, I saw that Dory had a tag attached to her in this tank with Hank outside of it, and it says transfer 3181. So I don't know, obviously everybody, anytime there's a number sequence,
someone tries to figure it out.
Right, what does it mean? So who knows if it means anything? Maybe somebody has a March 1st, 1981 birthday that animated that tag. Who knows?
Or it's like their childhood home address.
Who knows? Or
I know that was the Usman Kappa's house.
Right. Could be nothing.
Yes.
Could be nothing. But apparently in this clip, Hank wants that transfer tag.
Because he wants to stay in the aquarium.
Well, he wants to get out of there.
Oh, okay.
Because he wants to be transferred out. She's got a transfer tag on, so that means she's leaving. I think he's trying to finagle it off of her.
Got it.
At least that's what it seems like. So... But this ought to be interesting to see what comes of this, and what comes of the...
I'm excited for this. I'm excited to revisit these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, one of the topics that came up in the forum as well was who's going to voice Nemo, since obviously he's a much older...
He's an adult now.
Yeah, he's an adult now. And he obviously probably can't pull off that same tone of voice. So a couple of people had mentioned, and even Dan, the Pixar fan, mentioned that the voice is spot on. So we did a little more digging, and the voice actor is Hayden Rowlance. And I found an article actually written just a couple days ago, actually from a local paper in his hometown. And it was actually kind of cool because it did a little background on him and his family and talked about how hard it was to keep it a secret. Obviously, as a kid... You want to talk,
say something.
Yeah, and so he's had to keep this under his belt for like 2 years.
Of course.
And, you can't put it on a resume.
No.
You can't try to do anything like that.
Oh, yeah, and he's probably a childhood actor trying,
right.
That's a big...
And you would want to throw that on there.
That's a big nod, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, I thought that was kind of cool too. But yeah, so apparently this Hayden Rowlance does a fantastic job of getting his voice just totally down. So
yeah, just like you said, our friends who were there said you can't even tell.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's talk about a very exciting announcement of Coco.
Yes,
you
were all about this one.
So this totally took us by surprise because we'd wondered if there was going to be news of Coco during the expo because there was that picture of the poster lineup and there was a space right in between Toy Story 4 and Finding Dory.
For me, it was like, we're going to talk about it. We're going to address this.
Right.
But that's going to be the
But
last
what we didn't
thing.
know is that the name and the official logo was going to be revealed.
Right.
And we didn't know how much information they were going to talk about. So once it came out, we were like, it's Coco!
It's like the world stopped. It's like, wait, this is new!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were actually at a family event when this was going on. And so I had to be kind of Mr. Impersonal in the corner. Just like
you had to
texting,
leave
typing.
the room and...
Yeah, right. It was kind of fun. So, anyways, so Coco, the tagline that came along with it, released from Pixar, was Coco is the celebration of a lifetime, where the discovery of a generation's old mystery leads to the most extraordinary and surprising family reunion. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. So there was a clip that was shown that starts in a graveyard showing people paying their respects and quickly shifts to the celebratory streets in Miguel's town. Now, Miguel is the title character. He's a 12-year-old character that, I guess, he would be like what you would expect a Pixar character to look like. He's got jeans, a tank top. He's very easygoing, kind of thing. So it was great that we saw a quick concept art piece of Miguel as well.
Holding a guitar.
He had the guitar kind of
like slung
across his back. Yep. So after it goes to the celebratory streets, there's flashing lights, dancing skeletons, and music is filling the streets as disguised people celebrate the lives of their loved ones. So it ought to be interesting to see what comes of this. But Lee Unkrich also noted that as artists and filmmakers, we couldn't help but be drawn to the striking visuals of Dia de los Muertos. But it was the celebration's core themes of family, remembrance, and connections across generations that resonated within us and truly inspired us. Dia de los Muertos is as singular as the Mexican culture, while at the same time, boy, I'm murdering this last sentence here, while at the same time completely universal in its message. So obviously the celebratory nature of Dia de los Muertos, the visual aspect, the colors, the fact that there's that family element twisted in there, all screams Pixar.
Yes.
There's all these great things that can come about, but I love the fact that there's like this mystery element, where there's this generations old mystery leads to the most extraordinary and surprising family reunion.
Now, I feel like this is where you're going to talk about what was discussed on the forum.
You're dang right. Yeah. Okay, so in
the mystery and kind of
right. Woo. So in the forum, we had a new user sign up, Danel. I hope I'm pronouncing Danel. And the word Coco. So he is Mexican, and he says the word Coco means coconut in Spanish, but it also refers to a monster. As a kid, your parents would tell you that Coco would come take you with him, or more horrifyingly, eat you if you don't go to sleep as ordered. That way you would be scared of disobeying them.
So it's kind of like the boogeyman.
Yeah, and that's how other people described it. So Luis is also in the forum, and he mentioned that his parents are Mexican. He lives in southern Texas at this point, and he said, yeah, his parents didn't use that on him, but he had friends that their parents did, and it's very much like the boogeyman. It obviously has to have some type of tie to this.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely excited to see where this could go. And doesn't it just totally fit in?
And for that to be the title.
Doesn't it just totally fit into what Lee Unkrich, his style is? How he loves The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
And these horror movies. It fits into it's got a little bit of that mystery, the suspense, the family, and then the monster element.
Interesting.
It's kind of cool. I'm extremely intrigued for this.
Do you think we'll see room 237?
Maybe. I can't believe you remember that room number.
Weirdest things I remember.
I know from Toy Story of Terror, or no, Toy Story of Terror, it was in there. Mm-hmm. That they had a nod to that.
It's also in Toy Story 3.
Oh, okay.
I think it's on the license plate.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I believe you're right.
I think I am.
So I'm actually extremely excited for that. I mean, obviously the suspense of it was building and building and building. We weren't hearing anything, and we ended up writing a post up. So if you want to know everything that has been told so far about Coco, we wrote a post called, I think it's titled Everything We Know About Coco from 2012 to Now.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting post. When you did it, and I went back and read it, and I was like, oh yeah, that was talked about. Oh, yeah.
Well, I just felt like it had been so long since some of this news had been talked about.
I think a lot of people were like, is this not happening anymore?
Yeah. I mean, we created, we started using, the verb of, is it going to be nuded? Kind of like how Newt was canceled and those kind of things.
A lot of people on the forum were saying that, too.
Right. Yeah, we didn't know. So, we'd had a quick glimpse of it when we were at Pixar, and so I kind of at that point knew that it was still a go, but obviously we didn't say anything.
Oh no.
They had kind of talked about that too, like, you know, you might see some stuff, but don't say anything. So I was very excited to know that it was still going on. And now I'm even more excited that we can talk about it.
Yes.
Obviously, I didn't know anything else outside of just seeing some visual representation when we were at the studio, but to hear some of these backgrounds is awesome too of the story. So the Pixar news and the panel actually wrapped up with some news about Toy Story 4 and then kicking into the 20th anniversary celebration for the original Toy Story. So the news earlier in the day broke in an interview with John Lasseter, in which he said the central story, which we knew was centered around a love story for Toy Story 4, but we didn't know who it was centered around. He now announced that it was centered around Woody and Bo Peep, which is... what?
Yeah. Which is really cool. It kind of makes the whole franchise full circle, almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it also brings in a beloved character from before. And,
was she beloved?
Well, I think for some people she was.
I think a lot of people obviously liked her, but I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm just asking the question because she really wasn't in it all that much. She had snippets.
Right.
So I wonder, you know, I don't know. I'm really interested to see where they can take this.
Yeah. I really like the idea of Toy Story 4 and like that they're, you know, finding Bo Peep and stuff and making that connection. But for me, I never thought of Bo Peep. Maybe because she was in it so little.
Right. That's what I was saying, yeah.
And I was more focused around, like, Rex. You know, he captured my heart, and I love, you know, Potato Head. Mm-hmm. So it was like I fell in love with, like, those characters because Bo Peep wasn't in that core group.
Right.
So now it sounds like she's going to become in that core group.
Well, maybe. Who knows when we're going to find her within the film? Because the other thing that they talked about is that it's an adventure film, if you will, where Buzz and Woody, who better to go off on a journey together, go off and try to find Bo Peep, which, you know, we wrote in our wrap-up post about it that, you know, there's toys have been lost along, when Woody says this in Toy Story 3, that toys have been lost along the way, and Rex says, like, Bo? And Woody says, yeah, even Bo Peep.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see how maybe he couldn't let that love go and how he's like, hey, I know I'm here for Bonnie, but I got to find Bo or whatever it is. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this could go because she's got quite the eclectic group of toys herself.
Right. Part of me, and I don't think this is going to happen, but part of me thinks that he won't be able to find her or it'll be too late and something might not happen. And it's kind of like you have to be in love with the memories you had with someone.
Oh, that would be so super deep.
I know, but that, for some reason, like, I think they'll find each other. But part of me is like, oh, I wonder if it'll go down that road and draw.
Well, I think they will find each other. Because, for instance, John Lasseter, so on stage was John Lasseter, Galyn Susman, the producer, Josh Cooley, who's the co-director, and Rashida Jones and Will McCormack, who are actually the screenwriters on Toy Story 4. And John mentioned that it's actually inspired by the love story of him and his wife. So you have to assume they found each other.
Yeah, that's true.
But inspired by. That could be the twist.
Yeah.
That would make it, you know, not that way.
And then if they do find each other at the end, then all the Toy Story tunes and upcoming 30-minute specials, she's part of the core gang again.
Right. You never know where it can go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm open to having her in the core gang, but I fell in love with that core gang now.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like...
Yeah, but each time along the way, they've introduced new people and you fall right in love again.
I know, because now I always want Reptilis.
Well, now that we've seen the special, I want Reptilis to be, you know, talking with Trixie and even, you know, Buttercup and all the rest of them. Prickle Pants, they immediately fit in.
Right.
So, but
sorry to go off on that. I'm just like, my wheels are turning. I'm really thinking about it now.
We're coming up with some good conjectures, but I just can't get... I really want to know how this is inspired by John and Nancy, his wife, and their story. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Were they a long lost love? Did he have to go seek her at some point? Did she have to seek him?
I don't know. Didn't he draw her a lot of things, like cards and stuff?
I don't know.
I thought there was an interview that I heard something like that.
I don't know. But other Toy Story 4 news that kind of came across a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it actually, well, a month ago now, we talked about it on the podcast that Don Rickles is going to be back for Mr. Potato Head, but we also just learned a few days ago that Kristen Schaal, who voices Trixie, has also said that she's going to be back. So that's very exciting. So we know Trixie's going to be a character that's going to return as well, which, good, because I love Trixie.
I love her.
She's so much fun. Yeah. Oh, Kristen Schall's great. Yeah.
Oh.
So the event, after it went through the very brief Toy Story 4, just kind of quick little snippet there, it ended with John Lasseter talking about how he can't believe that Toy Story 20th anniversary is already upon us. And that John said, no matter when you think of Toy Story, you think of the amazing music of Randy Newman. And so Randy Newman came on stage and sang You've Got a Friend in Me, which actually is awesome for that audience to be able to get like a nice live performance. And then they had like Green Army Men rappelling down from the ceiling, and they had Bo Peep in costume come out on stage. Woody, they had all the characters come out on stage, dance around. I mean, it was a perfect kind of like Disney park kind of esque, like Walt Disney World kind of end to the big panel, the keynote of the event. So that was kind of cool. So some of the other Pixar sightings at the expo, there was an Inside Out panel with Pete Docter, Jonas Rivera, and Phyllis Smith, who voiced Sadness. There was a Pixar Secrets Revealed panel, which had actually a pretty big group, and it was Mary Coleman, Mark Andrews, Darla Anderson, Ronnie del Carmen, and Dan Scanlon.
I wish I could have gone to that one so bad.
Well, we heard a lot of things about it, and the only thing is that most, if not 95% of those secrets had been talked about before. But I know why you wanted to be there.
Well, no, it's not because like I really like.
We get it. Mark Andrews is there.
Yeah, because I love Brave.
All right.
But no, I'd like to hear their stories behind the explanations of the secrets.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're not just saying.
They're not listing. Yeah, they're not listing things.
Yeah,
they actually go into it a little more.
I like hearing the stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I'm so excited for that story, the art. The art of the storybook that's coming out.
For which film?
No, the
Art of Story.
Yeah, the story.
Yeah, got it. Yes, because there is one.
Like all the silly sketches and stuff.
Right, it's called Funny.
Yeah.
And it's like from the story team, the last 20 years of stories. Yeah, absolutely. There was also, speaking of 20 years, the Toy Story 20-year panel with John Lasseter, Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton, Lee Unkrich, Galyn Susman, Ralph Eggleston, Sharon Calahan, Eben Ostby, Bob Pauley, and Bill Reeves. Now, hello, that panel is the panel to be at.
Yeah, that's quite a lineup right there. That's
Pixar. It's Pixar brass. I mean, that's as good as it gets right there. There was also an awesome one that I would have loved to have seen, which was sculpting with Greg Dykstra, and he did one of the T-Rex sculpts.
I both.
I know.
Oh my gosh, the pictures, we were drooling.
Mm-hmm. And we actually have a picture of one of the quick as he's in process on the show notes as well, so be sure to check that out.
That is a talent that I really wish that I could hone. Try
it more.
I know.
You never know.
You never know, but it is. That's like a master craft.
Oh, it totally is. There's not. I mean, they don't have 60 people that do it at Pixar. There's a select handful. Jerome Ram, Greg Dykstra. I mean, there's some of the other artists that do their own sculpts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would love to like sit with them for like a month and just
a month.
Yeah, well, because it's going to take a long time and go.
That's a big ask.
Yeah. Huh? If I'm dreaming.
All right. Good point.
But it's so fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm. So some of the other things that were there, which took everybody by surprise. They were not on any schedules. They were not talked about. There was no pre-information about these. Were plenty of autograph signings and a couple other information sessions. So there was an autograph session with Pete Docter and Jonas Rivera. There was Andrew Stanton and Lindsay Collins. Ralph Eggleston was there. Nick Patera, who does set design for Pixar, but he also is a very popular YouTube sensation, and he sang the Triple Dent Gum jingle. So if you know him from that, he was there. And Angus MacLean, didn't even talk about this, that there was a Wall-E Lego reveal panel where he was up on stage talking about how he designed it and all these kind of things.
And he gave some away.
Right, and then did an autograph session as well.
Hello.
I know.
My mind would have been blown. I want to talk to him too.
I know.
I just want to talk Legos.
What's
I just
awesome?
want to geek out and be like, we don't need to talk about your work. I just want to talk about Legos. Can I please see your Lego room? I just want. I do.
I like that. Can I please see your Lego room? So what's cool about Angus is he's been super involved in the last 2 expos. He even had in the last one that special toy release with an autograph session there
for the
Small Fry toy.
I know.
So we got to have him keep putting out these toys so every year he can keep doing these awesome autograph sessions and little meet and greets.
I know. Hopefully 2 years from now, his Lego idea of Anger from Inside Out.
Right, maybe that'll be the one.
Maybe that'll get approved.
Mm-hmm.
It's still like only 600 and something votes.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what's funny is when Wall-E first came out, if you remember, it was actually had a down as well. And then he made a couple revisions, and then that's when it took off. But it had been kind of stagnant there for a while. And then
yeah, but that Lego Anger, oh, it's so perfect.
I'm not disagreeing with you. But I'm just saying that, the last one with Wall-E, just breathe for a moment.
I know.
Wall-E took a while too.
I know.
So let's let Anger take its time.
See, and the thing is like I've replicated Lego Bunny that he created for Toy Story of Terror, but my mind has been blown with this Lego Anger. Sorry to totally get off topic.
Mm-hmm.
It is so awesome. I honestly, I just want to sit down with him and be like, can you please tell me your Lego secrets?
Well, there's not a lot of... he probably doesn't have a lot of secrets. He just gets it. He can look at them and like a master builder does, kind of look at it and deconstruct how, what pieces you need to put it all together and make it look how
I can do that stuff with some stuff, but that, I can look at that and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry to go off. I am such a big... you guys don't know me personally, but I am like the biggest Lego nerd. I have like our basement's full of Legos. So
we have a lot of things in our basement. It's not just Legos. It's a boatload of cars. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff. So also at the expo was a collection showing all of the Ryan Spooner Hawaiian shirts that John Lasseter has had made, and it all started with Toy Story 2. So that was the first one. So it goes through all the different movies that have been from there. So it's actually really cool to see all those on display.
Mm-hmm. That was really cool. And one of our listeners, Paulina, she actually took awesome pictures of each individual shirt, like kind of an up-close shot.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool and like special for us to see each one.
Yeah. So then there was also the Disney Parks panel. So let's talk about Toy Story Land here for a minute. So a couple weeks ago, we got news that Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters would be the ride that would replace the currently under renovations Luigi's Flying Tires at Cars Land in Disney California Adventure. It's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
But now we also learned that there's going to be this completely new expansion to the underdeveloped Pixar place at Hollywood Studios in Disney World in Florida. So we already had known that Toy Story Midway Mania, because of its popularity, was going to have a track expansion.
Yeah, third track.
But then you were pumping your fists in the air excited when you heard that it's coming to Disney World and that's going to be this Toy Story Land expansion. So where else are there Toy Story Lands? And what's kind of coming in this Toy Story Land?
So there's already a Toy Story Land in Tokyo Disney and in Disneyland Paris. Mm-hmm. This one is going to be, I think, 2 or 3 times the size of all those. I think it's 14 acres is what this is going to be. It is going to have a massive roller coaster. It's a family-friendly roller coaster, but it's like a long roller coaster.
Right, with Slinky.
With Slinky
Dog.
is the main character. Basically, when you walk into Toy Story Land, you are going to feel like you have shrunk down to the size of those vintage Little People toys.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to walk in and it's going to feel like you are like a toy and like thrown in the yard.
Toy thrown in the yard.
Because it's there's
you're entering
grass.
this world. Yeah. No, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, the concept art is really, really neat. And I hope there's going to be a restaurant or something down there.
I'm sure they'll find a way.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. But the other ride that they're making is based on the claw for the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically the claw is going to, the claw has something to do with the ride experience.
I'm sure it'll be something that's going to come down on you and be like, ah! Right? You're going to scream and look up at it or whatever. That's going to be exciting. And then obviously we saw the Al's Toy Barn.
Yeah, you know what? I originally thought it was Al's Toy Barn. Now I'm second guessing myself because now I think it's just like a vintage, the little people barn.
I don't think it is. I think it's Al's Toy Barn. Al's Toy Barn. How could they not include an Al's Toy Barn?
I know.
And maybe
I don't know. I'm second guessing myself.
Don't second guess yourself.
Never second guess yourself.
That's right. So speaking of other products that are going to be coming as well, which won't fit in Toy Story Land, but they're going to have to find a way in our basement along with all these other Legos and other cars, are the Precision Series cars. We did a post on it before that they're going to be this plussed series of Radiator Springs, and it's going to be the entire street of Radiator Springs, both sides, every place that
Fillmore, Sarge's, Surplus, Mater's Junkyard, everything.
Right.
Even the firehouse at the end.
Yeah. And it's the detail.
And your favorite, the Cozy Cone.
The Cozy Cone. Yeah, you've got the multiple cones.
I know. I know your mind is blown.
I know. It's going to be so cool. So, it's actually kind of funny. I was joking with Pirate Steven, which, if anybody knows him, he's a toy box artist that was
master artist.
Yes, that was invited to the Toy Box Summit for Disney Infinity. Was joking with me on Twitter, and he was saying, "Where are you going to put that in your house?" Because he's like, "I've seen it, and it's seriously huge." Because it is. It's big. I mean, if you think about that whole street. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. But I'm a little nervous about it. I'm a little nervous because it's Flows itself. The first set that's going to be coming out this fall is $100.
That's going to be like the cheapest one, I'm sure.
No, because Fillmore's is $50.
Oh, okay.
And that's all they've announced, those two. So Fillmore's will be after Flows. This town can add up.
Oh, yeah.
Cozy Cone's going to probably be 75 to 100.
Yeah, that's
because it's going to be multiple cones.
That'll probably be like 150 or 200.
But Flows is, the reason why Flows is more is because it's got all of those
lights.
The lights that sync with it, and it's a bigger platform, and all those kind of things. So it's probably going to be one of the more expensive ones to kick off the series, but I can't wait. They've already had the playset released before. There's been some mixed reviews. People saying, I already have Flows. We already have Flows. We just bought them recently on eBay, paying extra high prices because we were like, we've got to have these. But I'm really interested to see what's going to come of this Precision series and how it's going to look with the whole town all put together. And are people that have the originals going to try to supplement it originally with like the new ones, but then it might look out of place? I don't know. I got to see it.
Supplement a little bit, but then we'll also
I
get them.
I gotta have it though. And then the cars themselves are going to be $10 each if you don't get them with the playset, because there's going to be some that are outside of that. So we've already seen like the Fillmore and the Doc and the Lightning McQueen and all those kind of things. But I'm extremely excited for this. Think about it. They have rubber tires.
I know, you geek out about rubber tires.
Because when I was a kid...
Well, yeah, when I was a kid too.
This Mustang Cobra Hot Wheel that I had came with rubber tires, and it was blue, Cobra, white stripes, white racing stripes down the top, and I lost it. And I found it at a toy show a couple years ago that somebody was selling it brand new in the box. I had to buy it, and ever since then, the allure of rubber tires being on a Hot Wheel meant something to me because it was something special. That it was unique, it was different. So I'm always excited when they have rubber tires. It makes me feel like I'm a kid again because you get to see the tread on a tire. I know it's totally stupid, but I love it.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, I can't wait to see it at all. So obviously the big news is that, obviously Fillmore's is coming out. We talked about it in the post because Fillmore's has never been released. There's never been the Doc Hudson mechanic shop. I mean, there's all these different ones that have never, all the little Sparkies and all the little shops along the way.
There's like a museum too.
Yeah, all the stuff along the way that we've never seen that have been released. It's really, really exciting to see those. There was also a Disney Infinity panel. Let's switch off some products. There was also a Disney Infinity panel. We're going to talk in more detail about Disney Infinity because it's coming out in 1 week from today, really. But at the panel, they announced that Spot would have his own figure that's going to be in the toy box, and there would be a 4-pack of 4 different power discs surrounding the Good Dinosaur, and Arlo is one of those power discs that Spot can ride on. So it's going to be very cool, and we're very excited to see how this is going to get integrated into the game. Now, Spot's not going to be released with the initial wave that's coming out next week here, which is going to be, what date am I talking about here? On August 30th. Sunday, August 30th when it releases, but it'll be out in, I think, a November time frame.
Yeah.
Makes sense since the film's coming out on November 25th. They'll kind of pair it up with that. So that about wraps up the Expo side of things. Holy cow.
Yeah, we've kind of already decided that we will be present at the 2017 D23 Expo.
Mm-hmm.
It's already a done deal. Mm-hmm. At least one of us will be there.
Being fiscally responsible adults, we were trying to hold back on this year's, but we're creating a plot of action.
The whole
so 2017,
time,
this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Yeah. So it won't happen again. One of us will be there.
Yep. All right, well, let's shift gears here and let's talk about our one-on-one interview that I was lucky enough to able to have with Jim Murphy, or James Ford Murphy as his title is officially, but he goes by Jim, who wrote and directed the Lava short film. And not only wrote and directed it, but he also did the song and plays the ukulele on the soundtrack and what you hear in the theaters as well. So he wrote that track as well. But before we start, I want to mention a quick note about Lava. So no topic on our site has been more hotly discussed than Lava. So all types of comments have been, there's 40 comments on this, from critical to glowing. No other post has gotten this amount of attention in such a short time. The scare cards, about our Monsters University scare cards, is still our number one post, has the most hits on it.
It's like 1 million or something.
It's not even close to 1 million.
Oh, I was thinking the Coco thing that we got shared on Facebook.
Oh, the picture.
The picture.
The picture of the posters that were coming out. Yeah, that has like
D23.
1.5 million views.
Yeah.
But no, just a picture. This is the post. But yes, so nothing has ever been associated so much. And it's been people that are saying the love story was too simple. Other people that are saying you don't get it. It's this passion of Hawaii. It's the visual. It's the song. It's a kid's lullaby. Literally touching all these different areas. And it's just such a great discussion going on around it. And once we talked about the song being released, that blew up and people are clicking and getting the song and everything. It was like, wow, people are passionate on both ends about Lava for sure. And it's just super cool to
be a part of that and kind of see it. Yeah.
Yeah, to see that impact. Because usually, our posts get some, good attention, but these got really good attention.
Right.
It was just really interesting to see how much people really latched onto this, with especially the people that have this passion for Hawaii or islands and the Hawaiian culture. It was just really cool. All right, so let's talk about the interview a little bit. So I saw Jim when we were at the studio for the Inside Out press day, and I immediately jumped up and ran over to him, and I said, you don't know who I am, but I'm TJ from Pixar Post. And I said, I'm from Michigan, because he's also from Michigan. There's a lot of Michigan people there, by the way. Dan Scanlon, we talked about it.
Kelsey man, went to school.
There you go. And we talked about how gorgeous. I talked about with Jim how visually gorgeous.
Jay Schuster, I'm sorry, also went to school in Michigan.
You're correct. Who's amazing with his Wall-E and Cars designs, which we've talked about on the podcast. But I talked about with Jim how visually gorgeous the short was. I was gushing about the sculpts that he showed when he did the TED Talk when he was in Detroit. He showed images of those. I talked about all those kind of things. And after I was walking away, a couple minutes, a Disney rep came over and said, hey, would you want to do a one-on-one interview with Jim? And I was like, she's like, I talked to him and he's open for it. I'm like, yes, book it. So it was really cool. So as the interview starts, I obviously want to say thanks for that, but as the interview starts, you'll hear me talking about I'm taking it all in. That's kind of where the interview will kick in. You'll hear me saying I'm taking it all in, because I was excited since I had talked to him the day before about the sculpts. I don't know if this is the reason he brought it in, but I'll take it. But he had one of those sculpts in the room when I sat down with him, and it was super cool to see this. So it's a sculpt that Greg Dykstra did. It's the combined sculpt of Uku and Lele at the end when they've got their arms wrapped around each other, and it's the final scene of the short film. And it's on this probably like 2 foot by 2 foot board, and the volcano stands probably close to a foot tall. And just seeing it and all the details, and like you can see like the scrape marks and all these other things. It's a cast of the original sculpt, but it's just amazing to see all of
the details.
Yeah, and he's like, you can touch it, move it around, like all these things. It was just super.
Oh my gosh, I would have been like, I can't touch this.
Well, I kind of didn't. I just touched the board.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to move it.
But he was like, yeah, right here, and he would touch, like, because you'll hear him going through and describing, and this is where you start to gain more respect and understanding about the short and how much passion he has for it, is he's talking about, this part of Uku is designed based on this part of Hawaii, and this part of Lele is designed by this part of Hawaii, and this mimics this rainforest, and like it's just super cool to hear all these different things as he talks about
his knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm. And then I also want to mention before we kick it off that you also hear his Jim mention Ren when I'm talking about the sound design, and there's one element of it that I really liked, and I just wanted to note that that's Ren Kleiss, who's actually from Skywalker Sound. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well. So let's go ahead and play our one-on-one interview with Jim Murphy. So, wow. Okay, so I'm going to revel in this for a minute and talk to me about, we talked a little bit yesterday as far as how, you're saying drawing them, it didn't really work out. You had to get the sculpts in order to fully get it. So talk about this, how it developed, how it changed, how the characters kind of evolved.
Well, so when I pitched the idea, I did a sculpt.
Okay.
As just like a proof of concept sculpt.
Sure.
And I did a sculpt of the main character. But my sculpt almost just had it was more of a head sticking out of the water. But he looked really sad. It was a sad thing, and I actually poured like little plexiglass type things so it looked like he was in the water. But I used it as a pitch, and it was great. I mean, it really helped sell the idea. Then when Matt Nolte, who's our production designer, came on, he started drawing. And I think he did like one drawing. He's going, hey, what would you think if I just, like, I'm just struggling with drawing these things because, I go, yeah, that's exactly what I did, of course, for the same reason.
Right.
So then Matt started sculpting these great little sculpts, and so we really got to play in the clay because they're mountains and they're so organic. Like we were talking about drawing the tree, like,
right?
You have to get in there and feel it. Right. So Matt did these great sculpts, and there was a point at which we showed these to John, and John's like, these are great, but it looks like a cartoon character of a mountain, that you really want to see the mountain, see the mountain first, and that's exactly how Matt and I were feeling. It's like, oh, so this is great. So right around that time, Greg Dykstra turned out that he wasn't working on anything. So we came right out of that John meeting, and we sat and we had Greg Dykstra doing our sculpt. So Matt, myself, and Greg started working on these. So Greg did this.
Okay.
And he did all of our sculpts, and we have one for each. We have the main Uku, we have a Rotoduku, and we have them together, and we have a Lele one, and they're magnificent. Like, they're just so good.
They are absolutely so good. They're
like, check out that.
It's just amazing.
Even the backside.
And that's a great.
And what was so great about Greg and Matt is this whole idea. Like, you look at it now and you're like, yeah, of course, that's what a volcano would look like, or two volcanoes together. Yeah. But it was such a leap of faith of, like, you see this person and you see this place. Mm-hmm. You see, like, and I'd have all this references, like, can you combine, like, if you look at, this is so many places. His whole arm is like the sea cliffs of Molokai. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this whole area in here is like any, particularly like Hanalei Bay, or, some of these bays that you'll see in Kauai or all over the islands. This waterfall is totally inspired by Papalawa Falls off of Molokai. All their bodies are like Mount Wa'ele'ele on Kauai and Pu'ukakui on Maui, which are the wettest areas on Hawaii. So they're super lush, and they have the grooves all cut into them from just thousands of waterfalls just carving in. And then Lele's, all her base was inspired by Nepali coast.
Okay.
and then her hair is like the newer Kilauea in the lava fields of Kilauea. So we really tried to incorporate, and then his face, we literally looked at the Waimea Canyon. And then when he was eroded, we looked at like Molokini and Diamond Head. So we really looked at specific places to incorporate, to John's point, of making these places believable as real places. You know, that when you're flying in, you're like, oh my God, I want to go there. I've been, or I've been there. Like that's, and then you're surprised, like, oh, these are characters. And what if these places actually did have, they were alive,
right? And
cultures like the Hawaiians actually tell stories and sing songs that these mountains are alive, that there is a spirit to them, and I just am so inspired by that type of stuff that I just felt like we could do that in that medium. Like this film isn't a literal telling of that story. It is like, it's your imagination of your favorite uncle telling you this story he's told you for millions of years, and he just happens to sing it to you, and it's this story of the creation of our home, or how our mom and dad, Mother Earth and Father Earth met, type of.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great feedback, because I remember hearing anything else from feedback from John that other people have imparted. They always say there's like that truth in the material, the truth in the design, that it has to have something rooted there. So as far as, obviously we talked about yesterday as well, the impact of the song and how it's immediate stuck in everybody's heads as far as after they hear that. Since that has been talked about so much, what else from the short are you hearing that is really sticking and resonating with people?
I think that the thing that I hear a lot is the stuff that, like when Uku's going under the water, I think that really gets people. Like,
and the reason...
You're no.
Exactly.
You can't. And then I think in the end, I think there's a real sentimentality to seeing them together, sharing a waterfall, having his arm around is right. One, like that was always John's favorite. He goes, oh, that's my favorite part. And I just love that. It reminds me of my wife Nancy. And
right.
So I hear that a lot. I think I hear a lot from people that do love Hawaii, and I'm like, God, you really captured it. Like, you just captured that feeling. And one of the other journalists asked me, like, what is it that I like about it so much? And you can't describe it. And
it's
I feel
a feeling.
Like this film is how I feel,
right?
About it. And it's such a combination of so many ingredients that, that if you can put into a dish that tastes delicious, is what you're...
Absolutely.
So you don't overcomplicate it. You can't put every ingredient in. Then you're like, well, I can't tell what it is. But if you can dissect it all out like a good journalist, then you have all the pieces and you put it back together in a way that it's really clear, it has an emotion to it, it tells a story, and and it tastes delicious. That's I think what you're really going for.
So when you were talking about him going under the water, that is the moment that totally resonates the most with me, because I love the fact that there's that slight pause in the sound where you don't hear anything. There's that pause, the music kind of stops, and that pause is what sells it for me.
Yeah, I agree. Because what I was going for that is two things. It was, the moment in Feed the Kitty when he thinks that she's been cooked in the oven and a cookie, and and he's like looking at the thing like that was what I showed the animators. It's like that, that's the feel. And then the other thing is that scene from, and to the point of like the silence, is the scene in The Descendants when she goes, the oldest daughter goes underwater and is crying underwater. I just thought that was, you can't hear it. Exactly. I just thought that was so powerful.
Right.
That feeling that I never forgot that. So in that moment, you just wanted to feel like, because you kind of, when it goes over, and just to have that feeling and that sense of like, oh my God, what's going to happen.
The other thing in regards to the sound in general is I really liked that when the song was playing in general and Uku was not on the screen, the song was enveloping. when he was on the screen, it was very centered in the sound. And that was really unique, I thought. It was kind of cool. I mean, it's not something that's not been done before, but I thought that was really neat as far as that it just centered right in on him then. Yeah. You heard that go center channel.
Yeah, and that was Ren.
Okay.
Yeah, Ren was great. He had a lot of great ideas on like the perspective of the viewer based on the emotion of the story.
Right.
And I think Ren also did a great job at finding his moments for sound without stepping on the song.
Right.
And then when it was time, then let it rip, So because it's an intimate little love story, but it's between giant volcanoes. So that when they erupt, you want to remind so that the whole room shakes. You really want to play that aspect of it, but then it goes back down to their little story again. So yeah, he was great at finding these clever little ways to. It's such a layering process, and what. And each layer is so crucial because one single layer can kind of mess up the whole equilibrium of the whole thing. So, and to have somebody at the very end, kind of come in there was a stroke of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aaron, when we talked to Aaron Hartline about the animation of this, he talked about the struggle of how do you animate a rock-like structure without it looking corny.
Right.
So we heard that, but what other struggles were there along the way that really you had to either figure out or really unlock to get it down?
Well, the first one was how do you animate a character that can't really move?
Right.
And that's the basic one. And that hit us right in the face as soon as we got to story. And Louis Gonzalez, do you know Louis?
We interviewed him as well. Yeah.
So Louis is I work with Louis and Dean Kelly. They're both just phenomenal and really good friends, and Louis and I were really struggling and we had a review with John that didn't go well, and so it came out of that review and I was like, all right, let's just forget that they're volcanoes. They can grow feet if they want. There's no limitations. Right. And we just came up with these ridiculous ideas of who our main character could be. And we actually then, let's just pick our favorite three, almost like episodes of if Uku were this guy, if Uku were this guy. I think it was like Loner Uku, Matchmaker Uku, and Uku the Dreamer. And we pitched those to John, and none of them landed, but there's something from each one of those that landed. I think I pitched it in Detroit. And that was a huge moment.
Exactly.
That was a huge moment, and that kind of unlocked that. And then when we got into animation, it was how do you animate these characters but retain the believability that they're giant mountains that are 5 miles by 5 miles? And to Aaron's point, a little went a long way. And so it was a big struggle of not over-animating, not animating too much, but animating just enough so that you never break that believability. And, because if the mountain moved too much, it just seemed funky that a big mountain would be.
Did you guys do any tests like that?
Yeah.
Like where it moved a little too?
Yeah. And what we do is let's push it too far, and then let's do less. Let's keep peeling it back, and we kind of ended up where we did. But Aaron's amazing, and he was so positive and had such a vision too of how to make this work, and he brought some great stop motion reference stuff, and he and Royce really worked together to put this little friction between the rocks, these little pops. When the rocks, if there's a brow move or a little subtle thing, you get the little click of the rocks rubbing against each other. That's super subtle, and we were able to divide the face, because that's really the majority of what you're seeing, into these plates that just slid.
Yeah, you can tell that they're almost like...
So we could get the expressions we wanted, but we weren't compromising the credibility of the material that it was. And it was a lot of work and effort and trial and error to what we finally came up with. And then even with the brows and the lids and stuff like that, it was something that we wanted to hold ourselves to the limitations. It would have been so much easier to go, let's just bend it.
Right.
No, let's stick to our guns because it'll be so cool if we can do this. And even the brows, they just slide up and down. They may go a little bit side to side, but they work together. They don't bend, but they just work in you get that range of emotion, and it still remains rock. And the lids, they just basically open and close, but we did bend those for certain expressions. So we cheated in an expression, and then you cheated in the next expression, and then the eyeballs I think helped seal it all together. That they were just boulders with hollowed out caves, and then we just kept the mouth, because I had an idea in the beginning that you could have lava in the eyes and in the mouth.
Oh wow!
So that was an idea, but as soon as we tried that,
would it make them look a little too evil?
Yeah, it was creepy.
Yeah,
they're like jack-o'-lantern.
You're right.
It would be a cool idea, but. All right, so we certainly hope you enjoyed our interview with Jim Murphy. I absolutely loved it. It was such a great, candid interview. He went over his time that he was allotted with me, and we actually talked for a couple minutes after I stopped recording. He just kept going because I was his last interview for the day because they slotted me in, and it was just super cool. It was just a great guy to talk to, and obviously I was excited to talk to him, not only from seeing the short, but also talking with Aaron Hartline, the supervising animator, on it as well, that we did that interview as part of the
Pipeline Project.
So it was just really, really a cool thing, and super, super nice guy. So couldn't be happier with how that went. But I thought one of the things that was really cool is the honesty of how he talks about how he had that meeting with John Lasseter that didn't go well. And out of it, he comes with these ideas. Him and the story team kind of regroup, and they come up with Matchmaker Uku, Loner Uku, and Uku the Dreamer. And he talks about how, although those 3 ideas were way out there and they did not work, something from each one of those that they storyboarded and kind of came up with ideas from ended up making it back into the original. So it's just a cool thing to, again, it's kind of going back to that process. Is you got to play it out. You got to see what comes from it and just keep going and trust the process, as everybody always says. Ed Catmull talks about it in Creativity Inc. Peter Sohn talked about it when you were there for Monsters University in that interview with you did with him. It's just like, trust the process, and it'll just keep going. You've got great, brilliant people that are smart and talented working on this. Just keep going.
Yeah.
So
stuff like that really invigorates me, because I would love to direct a short film at Pixar.
Wow. You went from asking for 30 minutes of sculpt time with Greg Dykstra and Jerome Ranft to now directing. This is good.
I've told you my idea that I had.
This is good.
I just think about the pitching process. That would be such a dream, even just to do a pitching process.
So we had talk about the note that, because this isn't in our interview that we just did with Jim Murphy, but the note that Jim wrote to himself and put inside his...
Oh, you'll have to help me with this, but it basically said, go all the way.
Have fun. Yeah, because that's what John would want you to do. So Jim Murphy wrote on a sticky note inside his ukulele case.
Yes.
He opens it up when he goes to pitch it to John, and he puts it in there so he can see this note to himself that just says, just go for it and have fun.
Yes.
Because that way it's just that's what John's going to want. Just have fun. I mean, because I couldn't even imagine... I mean, he's worked there for a long time. He knows John very well, but it still's got to be different when you're face to face in a pitch process that you haven't done. It's definitely taking you out of your comfort zone.
Right. And I mean, I like public speaking, but I think when you get into something like that and you're pitching... That's
not even that public. That's tiny. That's one-on-one.
I know, but you're... No, I think there's a brain trust too there. I think there's more than just John. But, I mean, I don't know. I've never been in one, so...
Right.
I just think it would be so personal and it would be hard and exciting at the same time, because obviously this idea you have is something that's manifested inside of you and you think it's good enough to show everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just would love that. That would be a dream. Like how you say a dream would be to do lighting or in the editing or every department of the Pixar pipeline that you've talked to.
I get a little interested in the process, yes.
Yeah. I like the story and I like the directing.
I think all my knowledge about the process now has set me up for a producer role. I'm just kidding. I don't want to add one more role I want to do in there.
You can be my producer.
All right, that sounds like a plan. All right, well, that wraps up episode 41 of the Pixar Post Podcast. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, newly assigned Periscope, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, Google+, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher. And lastly, I say it every time, but this time I really mean it. I mean it every time, but I wanted to say it like that so that way you listen a little more. If you like today's show, let us know. Rate us on iTunes. It does help us out quite a bit in our rankings, so that way we can keep spreading the Pixar love to other people. If people start looking for animation and or Pixar podcasts, we show up a little more. So rate us on iTunes, leave a comment on our site, or send us an email at info@pixarpost.com and let us know. We really do appreciate the feedback. Okay, so signing off as usual, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to PixarPost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.